and welcome to this week's installment of Ask Sarah, where every week I take your questions about teaching and learning and do my best to answer them. This week, I'm answering a question from a first-year teacher who I think has a little more wisdom beyond her years than she realizes. She writes, "Dear Sarah, I'm going into my first year of teaching. If you could give a list of your top 5 personal priorities, what would they be? Sincerely, First Year Priorities." Well, first year priorities, I have to tell you, ever since I first read your question several weeks ago, it's really kind of given me pause, and it's largely because you included that word personal in your question. It's as though your young teacher self already somehow knows that unless we are real live human beings in our classrooms, our students might comply, but they're not necessarily going to trust us, and that trust is so crucial to their growth. So with that, here are my top 5 priorities for keeping the person in teaching. Number 1, know your students. Everybody has a life story and a learning story, and we have to read both of them over and over again. And doing this will help you stay relevant, help you stay connected to your students. Number 2, don't be perfect. None of us are. We don't have to pretend that. But I actually mean go beyond the idea that you don't have to be perfect. I mean, don't be perfect in front of your students. Let them see you struggle. Talk openly about the times that learning has been difficult for you, and then let them know how that somehow launched you into your life now. Number 3, focus on the smallest of positive moments. I have certainly had tough years where at the end of the day, I needed to write down the 3 good things that happened that day. And sometimes they were as small as, George brought his homework today. And this is so important because learning is not like it is in the movies. It's very rarely this, big dramatic moment. Rather, learning is pretty quiet, and it's more often the accumulation of a lot of small changes that gain momentum. And so we need to be able to focus on those. Number 4, laugh every single day. I'm gonna confess to you that I took myself way too seriously in my first couple of years of teaching, and I realized that my inability to laugh with the students and at myself was a barrier between the two of us. And so be sure to laugh every day. And number 5, throw yourself into life. I know you are going to throw yourself into your classroom, but you got to throw yourself into learning too. Because if we are going to bring the rest of the world inside these 4 classroom walls, we really need to have some pathways out of it. With Teacher to Teacher, this is Ask Sarah. As always, we take your questions via Twitter and Facebook, or you can submit them at the Ask Sarah tab on my website, which you can find at sarahbrownwesling.com.